Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first ever episode of the Refuge Sports Podcast. My name is Justin Thomas, and I'm joined by my good friend and part-time roommate, Evan Gray.
What's up?
Our goal with this podcast is to bring our partly educated, partly delusional conversations about sports to the internet.
Yeah, we both talk about sports every day, and we both had some legendary takes and some not so legendary takes, and we decided that we'd start sharing them on the internet for anyone who just might want to listen.
Yeah, so let's start sharing them now. First, we're going to jump into our predictions for Week 2, starting with Thursday Night Football, which if you're listening right now, you probably already know the outcome of. Probably going to put this out on Friday. So I'm going to start with my pick, and then, Evan, you'll do yours.
All right.
So we got Philly versus Minnesota on Thursday Night Football tonight. I got Philly.
I would be surprised if Minnesota keeps this within 14 points. I'm going to be honest. This is going to be a blowout.
Yeah, they had a rough Week 1.
It was a blowout last year when Philly played them.
Yeah.
And Minnesota are a much worse team than they were last year.
Plus, it's primetime Kirk.
I don't think this game's going to be
not very historical, unless he beats the curse. All right, Green Bay and Atlanta. You go first. We'll go back.
Yeah, I'm going to take Green Bay in this one. I actually, even as a Lions fan, I really do think that Jordan Love is a pretty good quarterback, and I like the Packers' defense. I think it matches up well with Atlanta to have a very bad quarterback. So I'm going to take Green Bay in this one.
Yeah, this is actually one that I was kind of back and forth about, but I did end up going with Green Bay. I just think they're the better team all around. But I wouldn't be surprised if Atlanta puts up a good fight.
Yeah, it wouldn't be surprising if Atlanta just came out with it.
Yeah. All right, Buffalo and the Raiders at Buffalo. I'm going to go with Buffalo, quite obviously.
I'm going to go with Buffalo by 55 points.
Yeah. I think Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs especially are so mad.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to bounce back big. Shouldn't be that close. As long as they can get their run game going, which they're not normally prone to.
The Bills are such a hard team to read because it feels like sometimes they'll play and they're just this Super Bowl caliber, amazing team firing on all cylinders, and then sometimes last week they're just
3 picks.
Terrible. So it really is a guess, but we kind of have come to expect this from Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Just 4 or 5 games a year, he just is bad.
Yeah.
And then just is really good for the rest of the year.
I just doubt he does it twice in a row.
Yeah,
so.
and I doubt that one of his bad games is against Vegas.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
Even though they won last week, I'm still not very high on the team.
Yeah. So we both got Buffalo there. Let's go to Bengals or the Ravens.
This one's in Cincy, but I actually am gonna take Baltimore.
Really?
I think that they were the better team last week, especially, and
against the Texans.
Yeah, well, no, they were the better team. They were better than Cincy. I am gonna take the Ravens. I think that the Bengals are gonna take a little bit. The same thing happened last year, and I don't even think that this is me discounting the Bengals because I still think they're probably going to win 13, 14 games. I just think they're going to start slow. They started slow last year. Baltimore is a really good team, and not everyone is hurt yet, so there's still that first half of season Baltimore that is a Super Bowl contender until everyone gets hurt. So I'm taking Baltimore to win this one.
Okay, yeah. For those of you who don't know, Evan is a huge Ravens supporter.
I am probably the world's biggest non-Ravens fan. I am a huge Lamar Jackson fan. He is my favorite player in the NFL.
Yeah.
I would probably die for Lamar Jackson.
I'm going Cincinnati just because it's in Cincy. I was really up in the air about this one, but I don't think there's any way that they don't bounce back from last week.
Well, they'll definitely play better. I'd hope
for
they
sure
play better.
Yeah, I think it'll be competitive no matter what, but I think the just home field advantage gives Cincy the edge there.
Yeah, I just think Baltimore's better until, again, I hate saying this, but Baltimore's just had that injury curse every year for years now. And I really think that they are the better team if they can stay healthy. I love their defense this year.
Yeah.
And I love the weapons. And I obviously love Lamar Jackson.
And Zay Flowers looked
he looked
very
really good.
Yeah. Shout out my fantasy bench.
Yeah. And Lamar Jackson, I mean, I know it wasn't the best game he even went to Twitter and said that, he was rusty and didn't have the best game.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to talk about not having the best game, I mean, Joe Burrow was awful.
Like, historically bad.
It made me really happy as someone who really does not like Joe Burrow. I really don't like him. It's not because I'm insecure and I have a girlfriend, okay? That has nothing to do with it. And everything to do with... No, it has nothing to do with how attractive or not attractive he is.
Yeah, I'm more of a Joe Burrow fan now because I just traded for him for Deshaun Watson.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness.
So
that's
from one horrible person to another horrible person. I'm
what did
kidding.
Joe Burrow do besides be really good at football? I don't know.
He's arguably worse than Deshaun. All right, moving on. We got your Detroit Lions versus the Seattle Seahawks in Detroit.
Gosh, this is the kryptonite of the Lions. The past 2 seasons, they've given up 51 and 48 points to the Seattle Seahawks. I think this is the year it gets better. I am going to take the Lions to win this one. Yes, they've been giving up a ton of points to Seattle, but I mean, we watched the Chiefs game together, and that Lions defensive unit looked as good as it's ever looked in my lifetime. Mm-hmm. I mean, sure, it helped that the Chiefs didn't know how to catch, but this looks like a better Lions defense than I've ever seen, and I don't see Seattle coming into Detroit and scoring 48 points or 51 points on us.
Yeah.
And I think that I do think that this Lions team is better than Seattle. Mm-hmm. It's just going to come down to them not Detroit Lionsing. It's just going to come down to them not being the Lions and like the new Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I completely agree, but I got a weird feeling, dude. I'm going with Seattle just because I like the matchups. I think they have a lot of weapons that the Chiefs don't have, and I just think they could take advantage of your guys' defense.
I mean,
and
DK is crazy.
Right. And if that happens and let's say Jared Goff has one of his fluke games, that's almost a guaranteed loss.
Is Jared Goff, is it a fluke game or is it just a regular
or is it Jared Goff?
Jared Goff? I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm going Seattle there, but that was one of the ones that I was really back and forth about. I like the Lions a lot.
Just know that I hate you for that.
Okay.
The Lions are going to win.
All right, we'll see.
I'll guarantee it. We'll put it in the books.
Sam Laporta
is going to have 7 catches for 87 yards and a touchdown.
Okay, we'll come back to it.
Yeah, we'll be back.
All right, next we have the Los Angeles Chargers versus the Tennessee Titans in Tennessee. I got the Chargers.
I'm going to take the Chargers here.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't see... Tennessee are so hard to bet against because of just Mike Vrabel just seems to always figure it out.
Bill Belichick Jr.
Yeah, he really is, but I don't see it. Right, the Chargers are so much more talented than the Titans.
It's just like their defense is so horrid, but I don't think Tennessee can win a shootout with the Chargers.
I mean, Tannehill looked terrible last week.
That was
we were watching
atrocious.
that. We were watching Red Zone, and every time that game was on, it was like watching paint dry.
Yeah.
I mean, Tannehill was awful. The Titans looked completely non-dynamic.
And Derrick Henry was like mid.
Yeah, they couldn't move the football at all. Anytime Ryan Tannehill threw the ball, it felt like something bad was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Chargers defense is that bad. I think it's good enough to stop the Titans.
Yeah.
As long as, I mean, the Chargers defense with, I almost said Derek Stingley, with Derwin James is a completely different unit.
Yeah.
And I think that they're at least average.
Yeah. I mean, they looked bad, but first-year defensive coordinator, too.
And it's Miami.
Yeah.
Miami's offense.
Yeah.
No one looks good trying to stop Tyreek Hill. And Jalen Waddle on top of it. So,
I think the only way Tennessee wins it is if Derrick Henry literally gets it done every drive, because I think it would have to be a shootout.
And I love Justin Herbert. I mean, you know this. I talk about Justin Herbert a lot. He's definitely one of my favorite. I'm kind of the same way with Justin Herbert as I am Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Like, he can do no wrong.
One I agree with.
It's never his fault. Yeah, I mean, Justin Herbert. There have been some recent personal knocks on Justin Herbert. So with someone his talent, it's like, why aren't you more aggressive? I just want him to play like Matthew Stafford, where he just like Stafford and Favre, where it's like, I have an arm, I'm just going to use it. And it seems like sometimes he just doesn't.
Like from a personality?
Well, yeah, from a personality and from a playing standpoint. I just kind of wish that he was more aggressive, but I think that the Chargers are a better team. I do think they'll win. But
yeah, me too.
Yeah, definitely some questions there, but
yeah.
I think they'll come out.
Yeah, we'll both go with Chargers there. Then we got the Chiefs, 0-1 Chiefs against the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. I'll start. I got Kansas City bouncing back. Last year, every time that the Chiefs lost, basically, they lost to the Colts, and then they dropped 41 points on the Buccaneers. And then they lost to the Bills, and then they dropped 44 on the 49ers the next year. I don't see them coming back from a devastating loss and doing it again. I really like Jacksonville, so I could see it happening, but I just don't think that Trevor Lawrence gets the job done against Patrick Mahomes.
All right, listen to me very carefully when I say this. Listen to me.
We're gonna start a conversation.
We actually are gonna start a conversation.
Don't say it.
Jacksonville are better than Kansas City.
Oh my!
Jacksonville. From a team standpoint, I'm gonna take Jacksonville, and
they looked better. I'll give you that. This is
coming from someone who thinks that Patrick Mahomes will be already like the greatest quarterback to ever play. I still am taking Jacksonville. They looked much better. Mm-hmm. They did. I think T-Law is gonna get himself in the tier under Patrick Mahomes if he's not already in there. Mm-hmm. He's gonna be in that like Burrow Allen range where you see those guys go toe to toe with Mahomes and might not outplay them but get it done.
Okay.
And I'm starting a conversation. Jacksonville is winning the AFC. They're going to be the 1 seed. I don't know if they'll win, but it's a pretty easy schedule. And we don't know about Kelsey. There's question marks. Chris Jones, I guess, will play. So I can see Kansas City getting it done. I know what you mean with they come back, but I mean Tampa last year wasn't good. San Fran was really good last year, so I guess them dropping 44 on San Francisco
it was also
crazy.
A different Kansas City Chiefs team.
Yeah, so. I really am gonna take Jacksonville, and that's not even a knock on Kansas City. I just think Jacksonville are a really good team.
Yeah,
and I think they're gonna get it done. I really do.
Cool. Conversation started. Next up, we got
very terribly, but
yeah,
I think that it's gonna happen.
All right. Next, we got the Texans and Colts in Houston. You want to start?
Yeah, I liked Houston last week, but I'm gonna take Indy.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go Houston.
Yeah,
I don't think there's much to explain there.
Yeah, it's not
two rookies.
Yeah, Stroud versus Richardson. I mean, the real question is which QB of the two would you take?
Right.
As a Steelers fan, you have Kenny Pickett, so I'm sure that's really enjoyable to watch every game.
And Houston's defense didn't look that bad, but I am more comfortable with the Colts defense, so I could see it going either way, and those are definitely factors. But
yeah.
And I do like Anthony Richardson better, but I'm going Texans.
That's actually why I'm taking the Colts.
Okay.
Is because I think that in a shootout or offensive game between these two, which I think it's going to come down more to the defenses than the offense, I think that the Colts offense is just better than the Texans. And if the Texans defense is better, I don't think it's by very much. I think that the teams are pretty even, and I'm just going to take the Colts because I think that they're better. And Richardson's better than Stroud, is what I'm going to say.
Cool.
Conversation started.
I like it. Next, we got the Niners and the Rams. I got the Niners. They just looked amazing, their offense against us. I wanted to cope and pick the Rams, but I just got to go with who I think is clearly the better team. How about you? No. No.
I actually have the Rams.
Oh, my God.
I know. Oh, gosh. Picking this one is like me just trying to be different. I know it is. I know what I sound like. Of just the Rams looked so good last week, and they did. They really did. I watched as much as the Rams game as I could, and I'm trading for Puka Nacua in every fantasy league. I picked him up in one league, and I literally just offered Terry McLaurin for Puka Nacua in another league because this guy. And the Rams, listen to me. I know how Matthew Stafford is, and this is just such a Rams team that just perfectly suits who he is as a quarterback. And McVay is such a good coach that he perfectly, and I literally mean perfectly, elevates the team so well. So
I do like McVay
I think
a lot.
San Fran is the better team. Like you're saying, you have them picked. I think that it was clear that San Fran was the best team in the league. It's in LA. If they're ever going to beat San Fran, it's going to be this week. Before it's such.
If they go 1-1, it would be this week. So I see what you're saying, but I don't think you can say the name of Puka Nacua in the same sentence as Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle.
Am I not saying Puka Nacua right now?
You are. That's names. True.
And I mean, George Kittle, Tyler Higbee, is there really that much difference there?
Okay.
That's a joke.
No, yeah,
if anyone's listening, I'm kidding.
Clearly.
But McVay is... I think that McVay is one of already the best coaches ever. And I think Shanahan is great. I do. He gets a lot of unnecessary hate. He didn't want Trey Lance. I think people don't really realize that. But I think that McVay is just such a good coach that he elevates the Rams to their strengths so well. And guys like Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua.
The fact that he can get a win
exactly
with those guys.
They beat Seattle.
Yeah.
And Seattle won 9-10 games last year.
Yeah. And their defense was solid. Their secondaries.
They just dropped 30. I mean, I'm shocked by the Rams. I don't know how far they'll go, but if anyone's going to make San Fran 1-1, it's going to be Sean McVay. He's got something. He's cooking something up, I just have that gut feeling. And I never bet against Matthew Stafford. I'm done doing that. This is the greatest Lions quarterback of all time. Hall of Famer. I'll fight anyone about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And he's going to lose that week to the 49ers. All right, moving on.
I wouldn't be surprised.
We got the Giants and the Cardinals. Both teams not very exciting. I'm going to go with the Giants. Again, a bounce back. And I don't think Joshua Dobbs gets it done 2 weeks in a row. What about you?
There's no way the Giants get it done, right?
Yeah.
Did Joshua they lost last week, so did he even get it done? Because he was awful.
That's true. They almost won.
Yeah. But he was
he did his job. He was on the field.
He did play
He was
quarterback.
one of the quarters in the league.
There's no way the Giants lose this one.
No,
right?
yeah. Let's just skip over that, honestly.
Yeah, there's
Giants
no
to
point.
the moon.
Darren Waller.
40-0. It'll be their first point scored of the week.
It will.
If they average what they averaged last week, they can't win.
That's true.
Technically.
They do need to at least kick a field goal.
That's true.
And make it. They can't kick a field goal and get it blocked.
Yep. And Graham Gano has a foot injury right now, so we'll see if he even
0
plays.
points is... I cannot believe that happened last week. I can't say that I'm super surprised, but wow.
Yeah. Speaking of 40-0, we got the Dallas Cowboys versus the New York Jets, who just lost Aaron Rodgers tragically. I got Dallas. I just think they looked amazing against the Giants. I have to admit, I did not think they would do that. I picked the Giants.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Anyone who was walking the same campus as me knew who I had picked for that game.
Yeah.
I have been...
You were a Dallas and Baltimore guy.
And, Baltimore didn't really look the part of what I said that they would, but no team in the AFC really looked the part last week. So I'm going to give that pick a pass. I was messing around with all the Giants fans watching the game, telling them, they were going to get shut out, that they were going to want to leave by the first half. I was kind of believing myself, but also just...
It was
mostly just a joke, and they exceeded my jokes.
Yeah.
So I'm taking Dallas. I think that this is a 15-win team. I really do.
I don't see them dropping anywhere near 40 this game, but I think it'll be low-scoring Dallas with the victory.
And what is Zach Wilson going to do against the Dallas defense?
I agree.
I don't think...
Get sacked.
Throw interceptions. Dallas is so good, man. Yeah. They're so good.
All right, Denver Broncos and the Washington Commanders. I got Denver.
Can I pick both teams to lose?
Dude, I know. That's like watching paint dry. Oh my goodness.
Says the Steelers fan.
I'm just going to go with Sean Payton. I think Denver can be okay, and I think Washington can also be okay. It's in Denver. I'm going Denver. I think Russ gets it done.
I'm just kind of flipping it. I'm going to take Washington.
Yeah.
This game, I want this to have absolutely no effect on my sports accreditation if I get this one wrong, because I could not care less about these two teams. These might be the two most boring teams in the league to talk about. Washington's got a great defense. Denver's got a great defense. But, golly, is their offense enjoyable to watch, you know?
The thing that just not really convinced me but put me over the edge is Pat Surtain is going to be matching up with either Terry or Jahan. So it's just feeding the wide receiver 2. And
who's their CB2? Who's Denver's CB2? I don't even know.
I'm not sure, honestly.
I feel like I should know that.
All I know is that one of those 2 guys is going to beat their cornerback 2. So Sam Howell's going to have to look that way the whole game. He won't have one receiver, basically.
I mean, Sam Howell was interesting last week.
Yeah.
So I guess there is a little bit to talk about for these teams, but I'd be surprised if either team scores more than like 20 points. This is probably going to be one of those like 17, 16, 19, 17 kind of games.
Right. All right, let's go to New England. Miami versus New England. I got Miami. Their offense looked amazing last week. New England looked okay. They looked like New England. Same old New England.
Man, Miami's it's not happening. I hate to tell you this, but it's not. Bill Belichick is just not losing to the Dolphins on Monday Night Football. It's not. Okay. I promise you, it's not happening. It's just the Dolphins and the Patriots, like in New England. You're seriously picking Miami to win this game?
They dropped like 44 points?
It's New England.
Yeah.
It's the Patriots. It's Bill Belichick. It doesn't happen. It's the same thing as like picking the Steelers to win less than 8 games. It's just not going to happen, you know?
Yeah. It's just not the same Dolphins. I mean, Tua looked great. Tyreek looks like the best receiver in the NFL right now.
Yeah. Which he's been top 3 for years now.
But my goodness, he had a game. I think New England does slow him down a little bit. I think it could be a Jalen Waddle type of game. Maybe they look who's their tight end?
Gesicki's gone. No, it's not Gesicki. It's it's the guy with the Y in his name. I can't think of it. Now I'm gonna be looking at Miami's depth chart just so I can
low-key fantasy sleeper.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that.
We'll come back. I'm trying to think of his name.
Monday Night Football, we got the Saints and the Panthers. I got the Saints. I think they shut them out.
Shut them out? Yeah. Like 0 points?
Not 0 points, but I mean, Bryce Young looked okay, and then he threw 2 picks. But
are there legitimate concerns about Bryce Young's height after that game? Oh my gosh. He's so short. I don't necessarily think that he looked bad.
Yeah.
I think Atlanta's one of those teams that's going to play everybody really well, even if they don't win a lot of games. Mm-hmm. And I think that they played Carolina really well. Mm-hmm. And so, I'm going to pick New Orleans with you, actually.
Yeah. Their defense just looked pretty solid. And
as solid as... I mean, Tannehill was so bad. We were just talking about how bad the Titans looked. How much... was it that the Saints defense was really good? Probably a little bit.
Yeah.
But
overall, I think Derek Carr has a field day with J.C. Horn out. He has so many targets now.
Yeah, J.C. Horn's out. I don't see Carolina winning.
Yeah.
Michael Thomas is back game, maybe.
Potentially.
We'll see.
All right, last game. Hear me out.
Don't.
We're beating the Cleveland Browns on Monday Night Football. It is happening. I know we just got shut out by the 49ers. However, I've been a fan of this team long enough to know that we are not losing to the Browns. Week 2.
It can't happen.
It's not happening.
I actually,
it's the Steeler way.
That's so funny because I picked Pittsburgh too.
Let's go!
I know that
Let's just go.
No matter, it feels like Pittsburgh could win 2 games all year, and it's going to be against Cincy, and it's going to be against Baltimore.
Yeah.
You know what? Every year they could lose every non-divisional game, but they're beating every team at least once.
Yeah.
And at home, Monday Night Football, Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah. It just makes too much sense, doesn't it?
With how good Cleveland looked, and Cleveland is Cleveland. They looked really good last week, but it was in the rain. Burrow sucks at football, right? He's terrible.
Definitely wasn't their defense. Their defense looked great, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. No.
But I'm just going reverse psychology, which is usually how this team plays. I think we're winning.
I see the vision, and that's why I'm also going to agree with you and pick Pittsburgh.
Let's go.
I'm really going to regret that decision when they lose, but I'm going to pick Pittsburgh. I have them picked in our pick 'em.
I love it.
So I guess I'm a Pittsburgh. I still believe.
I still believe. Let's go. All right, here we go. Next category, we're actually going to do the fantasy buy low, sell high. So we're each going to have like 2 or 3 buy lows and 2 or 3 sell highs. So I'm going to start with my buy lows. If you don't play fantasy, just skip to the next section. My first buy low is the entire Bengals offense. Jamar Chase scored like no points.
T. Higgins
literally scored no points.
0 points.
Joe Burrow had 3 fantasy points. I just think if you can get your hand on
less than that.
Really?
It was less than 3. It was bad.
It was historically bad, and like I said, I got Joe Burrow for Deshaun Watson somehow. If you can do something stupid like that, definitely do it.
That's never happening again.
No, it's just not. They're gonna be good.
This happened last year. I mean, it wasn't to the extent, but Burrow threw 4 picks against Pittsburgh last year, and they started. I think they started 1-3.
Yeah, and even Joe Mixon, there's no one else in that backfield. He's gonna produce eventually.
Yeah,
even if it's a slower start.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Next one, I got Jahan Dotson. He seems to be Sam Howell's favorite target, so I really like him. And the Commanders play a lot of tough corners in their division. It's for example, last week, This week, they play against the Broncos, and Pat Surtain only let up 2 receptions when he was matched up against Devontae last week.
Sick.
Yeah.
He is so good.
So it all depends on what these defenses choose. As far as who they're covering with Pat Surtain or CB1s like Darius Slay, they play twice a year.
Yeah.
But I think as long as Terry is who we think he is, Jahan's going to be the number 2 guy.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he puts up number 1 numbers because of it. My next buy low, I have D-Hop. He had probably 13 fantasy points. And
did he really have that much?
Yeah.
Really?
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, I was just focused on how terrible Ryan Tannehill was. I kind of forgot about the rest of the game.
It was 12, 13 points, but we've seen it year after year. Just no matter where he goes, no matter what the QB situation is, he's going to produce. It's D-Hop. He's just like that. So if you can get your hands on him, I would go for that for sure.
Future Hall of Famer, DeAndre Hopkins.
I
don't think anyone argues.
No, 100%, yeah.
Yeah. Buy low, I definitely think we're along the same lines here because my buy low is Puka Nacua. I'm so serious.
Oh, I disagree so much, but go ahead.
I know how Matthew Stafford is. All right, I know him like the back of my hand. I really do. He was my favorite player for basically my whole life. Stafford was my quarterback. When he went to LA, everyone finally saw how good he was, how much he elevated his teammates. And a wide receiver like Puka Nacua, when I was watching, he fit. McVay schemed him and Tutu Atwell so well.
Yeah.
And Stafford has to throw to somebody. And Puka Nacua was beating man. He was beating zone. I think that, I know it's kind of, he's definitely more of sell high if you have Puka Nacua, but I think that he really is going to produce like that every single week.
I don't think they keep the same
game
plan every
He was almost in man coverage against Tariq. This isn't like a scrub seat. Tariq Woolen is one of the better, if not one of the best corners in the league. He was beating him in not only zone coverage, but man coverage. And that is when you start to really ask questions if a wide receiver starts winning in man.
Mm-hmm. So for me, I'm going to be honest. I didn't watch much of the Rams game except the end.
I loved that
game.
But just watching it.
Puka Nacua and looking at his face. I'm sorry. It's just... There's no way he's a league winner.
He dropped to Yale.
Dude, he dropped 25 points. He's not going to average that.
No.
That is not a buy low, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of my first thing of he's on the waiver wire. Please get him.
Yeah, that's true.
If he's there, get him
for sure.
Same with actually the halfback, Kyron Williams.
Oh,
if you have Cam Akers, drop Cam Akers and take Kyron Williams.
Did he get outsnapped?
He did. He got outsnapped. He got outcarried. I don't know if he got outsnapped, but he got outcarried.
Yeah.
And it was much more productive. He outscored him. He had more touchdowns.
Dude, he was nasty at Notre Dame too.
But it's actually so funny because I was looking at the what's it called when they go just by the athletic rankings, and he's one of the least athletic running backs in the entire league.
Really?
Yeah. He tested horribly, but McVay is...
Yeah.
I swear, he's a genius.
Mm-hmm.
I think he might just be... everyone on here is going to think that I'm like in love with Sean McVay. I honestly don't really talk about Sean McVay much, but he is
a good coach.
He's phenomenal.
He's got a good mind.
So I think that if Cam Akers is on a team and Kyron Williams isn't, that you're making the wrong decision between the two guys. And my last buy low is DJ Moore. I think that the Bears are just going to figure out that DJ Moore is really good. Mm-hmm. I think he's the best Bears receiver by a pretty decent margin. He's the best after the catch. They threw a lot of screen passes. They're going to figure out that DJ Moore is really good on screen passes. They're not going to throw any more screens to Chase Claypool because he is awful. Yeah. He's terrible. No disrespect to Chase Claypool, of course. If you're listening to this, Chase Claypool, you're the best. Top 3 wide receiver in the league. But
I mean, the Bears, they played Green Bay. I mean, that's Jair Alexander.
Yeah, you're not going to be guarded by Jair Alexander every week.
You're not going to get a deep pass.
I mean, I was disappointed with DJ Moore on my team this week, but I don't think it's going to happen much
I think
more.
Most wide receiver ones, you're going to be disappointed against Green Bay.
Yeah, Jair is criminally underrated at this point.
Yeah, so
I feel like no one ever talks about him.
Yeah, definitely do not give up on DJ Moore.
Yeah, buy low.
Yeah. Let's go to our sell highs. I'll go first again. I got Brandon Ayuk. This is kind of a personal issue. I'm just going to be honest. Every single time the Steelers play someone pops off. And it seems to be either our corners are messed up or our run game is terrible for that one game and the running back pops off. I just think it was a matchup thing. I don't think Brandon Ayuk is going to be that guy this season.
You're pushing agendas against the 49ers all year because of what they put you through.
I know ball, bro. Brandon Ayuk is not going to be him. I'm worried about his target share. I think that offense is dynamic. They have so many targets they could throw to, and he was getting the ball like 60% of the time, it looked like. So, yeah, Brandon Ayuk is my first sell high. I only have 2. My second one is Aaron Jones. This one is kind of like because I still really like Aaron Jones. But even though he was injured, it was like a 50-50 split with A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon actually out-carried him, but Aaron Jones did go down with that hamstring injury in the third quarter. He's most valuable because of his pass catching upside. We saw that this week. With Christian Watson returning soon, I just don't know how much share in the passing game he gets. I think he's a viable option, but if you can pair him with another player for a different RB1, I would do it. I would say he's like a top tier RB2 kind of thing. Yeah. But he's the number 1 running back in fantasy points wise right now, so I would sell high on him.
Yeah, for mine, I actually just thought of 2 running backs. One of them actually I have on my fantasy team, which is Tyler Algier. I think he's more of a sell high because I'm not sure how many times he's going to score 2 touchdowns and get 20 plus fantasy points. Yeah. And a lot of times people really overreact about their team week 1. Yeah. They'll see somebody drops 25 points. They'll give you something crazy. If you can get, like Aaron Jones for Tyler Algier because of the game that Tyler, something
at that
like
point,
that.
Aaron Jones is a buy low.
Yeah. I think that Bijan's going to eventually get more touches. Mm-hmm. They kind of they drafted Kyle Pitts and then didn't use him, and then they drafted Drake London and didn't use him. Yeah. So there's no way that they do that with Bijan Robinson is kind of my thinking.
Gotcha.
So I think that eventually he will be getting more carries. And then my second one actually is somebody. Wow, I did someone on my fantasy team and someone on my real team. Sell high on David Montgomery. I think he's going to get a lot of snaps in Detroit. He's a great pass blocker. Yeah. But they even were talking about how they're trying to ease Jahmyr Gibbs in. Mm-hmm. I mean, Montgomery averaged, I think, 3 yards per carry compared to, I think, Gibbs averaged 6. So the more carries are going to give to Gibbs, the less you're going to see David Montgomery on the score sheet. Yeah. I don't necessarily think that, you should freak out and, trade him. And I say sell high. He wasn't even really that high, but I don't know how much more snaps he's going to get. So if you're trying to package David Montgomery, I honestly would probably try to do it. Jahmyr is going to keep getting more and more touches. I love Jahmyr.
Completely agree there. Let's go to I'm a Steelers fan, AFC North / NFC North Outlook for your Lions. Oh, yeah. Do you want to start there?
Yeah. So one thing that I actually did really notice what the NFC North is, something that I actually had been saying all offseason, pretty much all summer. The division is between Green Bay and Detroit. I say this, and one of our friends is a big Vikings fan, and it really upsets him, but they're not good.
Yeah,
they're really not good.
Yeah, I'm low on them this year too. They won so many close
4,
games
5,
last year.
6 wins low on them. That's how low I am on them.
Yeah, I would say like 6 or 7, but I still think they're third in the division.
Yeah, I think that the clear best teams are Green Bay and Detroit.
Yeah,
I think that the division is going to come down to Green Bay and Detroit, which is wild that I'm saying that.
I think it'll just be Detroit.
Everyone keeps telling me that. Yeah. Every Packers fan here
I did pick Seattle.
Yeah, every Packers fan here is like, yeah, man, this is Detroit's division, and I know this story. Yeah. This is my life. We just got rid of, because my dad had to deal with Brett Favre his whole life. Yeah. Right? And then I become a Lions fan right around the time that I have to start dealing with Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. And, now Jordan Love is here, and he plays week 1 and just completely owns the Bears. And so I'm thinking kind of the worst. I also think that, in all honesty, Green Bay's defense is equal to, if not better than Detroit. So I think that, in all honesty, it might just come down to Goff versus Love. And, I mean, you know how I feel about Jared Goff. Yeah. I'm not super high. I don't really think he elevates the Lions at all. Mm-hmm. And so if it ends up coming down to Goff versus Love, I think Goff is better right now. Yeah. I don't think he does anything to elevate the Lions. I just think that he executes what they want to do, but doesn't do what Mahomes and Allen and Herbert and Lamar and I guess sometimes Joe Burrow do, and just completely elevate the team. So I think that after week 1, I think it's pretty clear that we could say that Green Bay and Detroit are the 2 best teams. Yeah. Minnesota are going to be pretty disappointing, and should we start to have questions about Justin Fields' passing ability? I never had questions about that until I watched him play against Green Bay. Yeah.
For me, it's does it matter that much?
No, I don't think it does. But if the Bears really do want to take... so many Bears fans were like, this is our division. We're winning it this year. And if you're going to do that, Justin Fields has to be better.
Yeah, I agree. And I think he is better.
Yeah, I don't think he's as bad as he played last week. I don't necessarily think he played terrible. Mm-hmm. I think Chicago's better than Minnesota. I really do. I really think Minnesota are bad. That defense is terrible. Mm-hmm. And sure, Justin Jefferson is probably one of the 3 best players in the entire league. Yeah. But the defense is so bad that, so that's how I feel. I think it's going to be Detroit and Green Bay up at the top.
I agree.
And then I think Chicago will be in the 6 to... they're not going to win 9 games, but the 6 to 9 game range was just kind of average. And then I think Minnesota are about the same, but they'll be worse, in my opinion. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
I agree with that. Yeah, I just think if the Vikings play the Bears, for whatever reason, I just think the Vikings win that game. But I could see the Bears...
against Jalen Johnson? Oh,
yeah.
Lord, yeah.
Yeah. I could see the Bears being 3rd instead of the Vikings. That makes sense. But I agree with you about Packers and Lions. I just think the Lions have a better offense, more weapons to throw to, especially once J-Mo comes back.
Oh, I'm so excited for that. I'm so excited for that.
All right. Now I'm going to talk about the AFC North for a little bit. Let's start with the Browns. I know this is going to sound contrary to my weekly pick, but dude, the Browns are legit.
That defense, man. Yeah. Myles Garrett looked sick.
I know. They completely shut out the Bengals offense. They had the lowest net yards per attempt in week 1.
It was raining outside. It was raining.
And number 2 wasn't even close. Yeah. And I forget what team it was. It was I don't know, Texans or something, but it was just embarrassing what they did to the Bengals.
That was insane.
Yeah. Moving on, Ravens. I love their offense. I think they're scary. If Lamar stays healthy, he could have another 2019 year. MVP, honestly, man. With Dobbins out, he takes most of the run game. He has way better weapons this year.
It already looked like it too. Watching them play
without Andrews.
Yeah, watching them play, it was really the first time where it felt like Lamar was super comfortable letting the ball be in other people's hands. Zay Flowers looks really good.
Yeah.
And,
I think it comes down to how healthy the Ravens' defense can stay. And obviously if Lamar can stay healthy. But if that defense...
Marlon Humphrey was out.
He was.
Yeah, and I think he might be out this week too.
Huh.
So there's always lingering injury issues with this team. I don't know what's wrong with the Ravens.
Mm-hmm. I'm not as high on them as you when they're fully healthy, but I think if they are, they can definitely contend.
Well, of course you're not, because the Steelers somehow beat the Ravens. The worst Steelers team of all time is still going to beat the Ravens because it's just what happens.
Yeah. And the Bengals, I think they will bounce back. I think it was a fluke week. I do think Cleveland is good. I don't think they're as good as they showed.
No, man, it wasn't a fluke, bro. It really is that bad.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to tell my girlfriend.
I think any one of these 3 teams can win the division. I think the division is anyone's but ours. I'm going to be honest. But at the same time, I do think we'll win 8 or 9 games.
Yeah, no, this is the best division in football.
Yeah.
At this point. Besides, no, it's probably better than the NFC East.
Yeah.
It's about the same. Your division is really, really good.
Yeah. And it's just what we do. Like, we find a way. Like, we won 8 games with Duck Hodges.
How did you win 9 games last year? That is the real question, is like, how on earth did that happen?
Yeah. Yeah, but I think we can bounce back. The injuries may not seem like that's possible. We got Cam Hayward out, Deontay out, Pat Freiermuth out, 2 of our starting offensive linemen, but TJ's healthy, he had 3 sacks. When he's on the field, a win is in play no matter what. I know, obviously,
no, I agree.
Week 1, it wasn't in play. But
you just sat there shell-shocked.
I did, yeah.
It was insane.
I was a believer till the end, though. I watched the whole thing. I posted, I still believe on my stories.
At halftime, when Pat Freiermuth scored, you were like, this
We're so back.
We're so back.
Dude dabbed when they were down by like 2 touchdowns.
It was 20, I think it was 20 to nothing.
Yeah.
And he scores a touchdown and he just starts dabbing.
It was cold, though. And he's a top 5 tight end, so...
If George Kittle and TJ Hawkinson died, he would be a top 5 tight end. There's no way that he's a top... I'm so sorry. I know you're huge on him, but there's no way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that division's anyone's except ours.
I'm a firm Baltimore believer, but I feel pretty confident that Cincy is just... Oh, gosh. I hate Burrow so much. I don't know why, but Cincy still... They're gonna win.
Yeah.
I could see like a huge Baltimore season, like a huge Lamar. But yeah.
I think it just comes down to injuries and who wins that division.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. Because, I mean, Cincy going 0-1, it's anyone's at this point. Moving on, we're going to go back to fantasy. We're going to do our start and sit of the week. Again, we got 2 or 3 for each. I'll start. I got my starts. This one is like he's on your bench. He's like probably your last bench spot if you have him on your team. It's Elijah Moore against the Steelers. I think our corner depth looked so bad. I know we didn't play Joey Porter, but just being the wide receiver 2 on the Browns, and I do think that the Browns will have to throw a lot this game because I'm a Steelers truther, and I think we'll be contending for the win.
Yeah, probably.
But just like Brandon Ayuk was the number 2, I think Elijah Moore is a similar deep threat down the field guy. I think he can get you a solid 12 points or more in fantasy this week. And he had 7 targets against Cincy, and they weren't throwing the ball that much.
Yeah.
Next up, I got James Cook on the Bills against Vegas. Vegas's run defense is always terrible, and I think we agreed that Buffalo's going to shut them out. So they'll be running the ball more than they normally do.
I would also add to that and say just any player on the Bills.
That's true.
Literally anyone.
My only concern with receivers is like if they go up by like 30 points, they're not getting any more points.
Yeah, no.
So I think James Cook is like the clear sleeper there.
I think that's a good.
Yeah. And I tried to do like lesser known, not known, but like
they're
probably on your bench.
Yeah. No, I see what you mean.
Going off of that, Isaiah Pacheco against Jacksonville. He looked great week 1 against the Lions. He's just...
Watching him play against your team is just so deflating because he just doesn't get tackled. Mm-hmm. And it's not even like he's this elite running back. There's one thing about his game that's elite, and it's just the fact that he doesn't hit the ground. Yeah. He doesn't get tackled.
And when he does, he like shoots off the ground like he's ready to truck someone again.
He's one of the most entertaining running backs to
I
watch
love
in the league.
Pacheco. And if the Chiefs bounce back as huge as I think they will, I think he'll get a lot of carries towards the end of the game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Who are your starts?
For my starts, picking against my team here, I would start Tyler Lockett. I would start DK Metcalf, and I would definitely start Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett, I think, had upwards to 40 points against us last year. It was insane. It was terrifying. And he's just kind of the perfect matchup against us. You know, they actually... I would play Seattle's offense. I think Lockett is really good, and I think that with Emmanuel Mosley out, they're really going to be relying a lot on... is it Cameron Sutton? Did I just forget his name?
Yeah, Cam Sutton.
Cam Sutton, yeah. You're going to be
Steelers
relying
legend.
a lot on Cam Sutton, and I don't know how much you want to rely on Cam Sutton to be your cornerback one.
Right.
So I would start Tyler Lockett, and I also, going along with this is probably someone that's not on your bench. Please start the Cowboys defense. That is like a guaranteed start.
That's a given.
That might be your best player this week against the Jets offense. So Dallas defense, trade for them if you have to. Like, get Dallas defense on your team for this week, because it's going to be rough for Zach Wilson.
It'll be a show for sure. Go ahead and do your sits.
Yeah, for my sits, please don't bench Bengals. Don't do it. Play T. Higgins. He's not going to get 0 points again.
Yeah.
Even though I have Baltimore winning this game, the last time that the Ravens played at Cincy without Marlon Humphrey, I think the Bengals they scored like 50 points. Please don't bench Bengals just because they had a bad game last week. They will bounce back.
So for sit, you went, don't sit.
Yeah, don't. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm saying, Baltimore's defense. I got confused there. That's my bad. Sit the Baltimore's defense against the Bengals offense.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, don't play that defense.
Bengals won't fluke again.
Yeah, no, it won't happen.
Sure.
And then I would sit Jordan Addison against Philly. He had a pretty big game last week. I was looking at it. I was pretty surprised, even though they lost. Don't avoid playing Justin Jefferson, obviously. Please start Justin Jefferson. I even would go as far to say as play Vikings offense, because they're going to need to be throwing the ball. Yeah. So play Kirk, play Jefferson, but I don't like the cornerback. I don't like the wide receiver 2 matchup against the Eagles defense. Really? That is just so good. I really don't actually at all. And I think that if all else fails, that Eagles defense is just really, really good. And I don't think Jordan Addison is going to be getting the points. So I would try to stay away from Addison. But
we'll see tonight.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we'll be watching tonight.
Yeah.
I would stay away from Addison, but I would play Jefferson.
Yeah.
And
I think it'll be like a TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah, I would start Hawkinson as well.
And maybe like some KJ Osborne mix in. I think it'll be a split
why
between...
Why does KJ Osborne get so many targets? It's so funny. Yeah. He just is so random, but yeah.
That's your last hit?
Yeah. No, cool. I'm bad with the fantasy start and sits. I can predict games, but listen to Justin more than me. He's the fantasy expert. I was the one who accidentally... said to sit the Bengals offense when I meant to sit the Ravens defense.
You're good. But you did win the league last year, and I was
I won
last.
The league. If you want to know my strategy, it was don't have a strategy and only draft players that you like that are good. And it won me the league last year. So let your fantasy team actually be, your dream team.
Yeah, he had CMC and Saquon, so that was a given.
That was a given. I did have CMC and Saquon last year.
All right, sort of going back to our first topic, we're going to do our hot takeaways from this week. I'll start off on this one. I think the Saints are winning their division. I think it might not even be that close for the Bucs.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's Derek Carr's first game in his new system, and he threw for over 300 yards with a really bad run game and no Alvin Kamara. Olave had 112 yards. Raheem Shaheed had 89 and a touchdown. And Michael Thomas is back. He had 61.
He is back.
I love those targets. I think Juwan Johnson's a good tight end too.
Yeah.
And I think Derek Carr can get it done. And how good their defense is, I don't think you need someone better than Derek Carr to win that division.
Yeah, that division is... I don't even go as far to say it's like the division is bad, because I don't really think any of the teams are bad. I just think the division is bad because none of the teams are
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the few divisions in the league where everybody is just very average.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see the Saints. I'll agree with you there.
I think they'll be better than most people think. Like, even if they if they make the playoffs and win the division, I don't think it's like just a fluke and they lose their first game. I think they could win a playoff game.
I normally was picking Atlanta, but after watching Atlanta play and after watching New Orleans play, I see the vision.
Yeah.
I do.
Next one, I got the Chargers. Tough loss. But I think they can contend to win the AFC. Straight up.
Oh my gosh.
I do. They were struggling really bad on defense. We talked about this.
Everyone struggles against Tyreek Hill and Waddle, though.
That's true. Yeah, but we saw it all last year. Their defense was struggling. There's a ton of talent there. There's just a lack of production, and they have a new defensive coordinator, so they're still trying to figure some things out. I think they'll start to click eventually. Get some good pressure on the quarterback, run defense will look better.
I mean, Herbert is criminally underrated.
Yeah.
I think at this point in his career, when everyone starts to doubt him,
mm-hmm.
Sure, he's not like your typical everyone loves quarterback, just because he's not really like an outspoken like leader or anything like that. He's not super fiery or intense like what a lot of people want from their quarterback, but he is just like straight up talented.
Yeah.
Like insane.
Like Joe Burrow, but just better.
Yeah,
and more attractive.
Yeah. Oh, I actually agree with that. I do agree with that.
I actually don't. I'm just saying that because you say it.
Oh, I can't stand Joe Burrow, man.
Yeah. But I think
Why do I hate him so much?
We'll get back to that.
I'm not a Steelers fan.
We'll get back to that. I think their run game looked very good. And the only concern with that offense, I think they'll be great no matter what. I think their offense is good enough to contend for the AFC. It just comes down to their defense. Herbert was getting some really, really bad sacks there at the end.
That last drive was awful.
Yeah, but, I mean, Rashawn Slater, they have a good offensive line. They just... I don't know what was happening.
Yeah, it
should be.
good.
That's the story of the Chargers. Like, their defense should be good.
That has been the story of the Chargers for as long as we've been alive, though. It's like, oh, the Chargers look good, and then they just somehow don't, you know?
I think they'll figure it out, is all I'm saying.
I do agree with you. I think Herbert's too good for them to not figure it out. My takeaway from last week is, you know, my Lions fan fear coming in, but it is absolutely the fact that Jordan Love is legit.
Uh-huh.
I saw it coming. I was talking to people about it all off season that I'm not ready to just write off the division to be Detroit's.
Yeah.
I saw it coming from a million miles away. Jordan Love looked the part, and I think after a few weeks, everyone is going to realize that he is a very, very good quarterback.
I would agree with you, and I wouldn't before week one, but just watching them, it's pretty clear.
Yeah. I had my questions about Love. You know, he never really looked great whenever they played him. But it just seemed like it all clicked.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he was really good against the Bears. My second one, I've been preaching this from the mountains. The Cowboys' defense is going to make them the NFC's... they're going to win the NFC. They're going to be the Super Bowl. They're going to be the team that plays in the Super Bowl.
And I laughed at you when you said that.
You were laughing. Everyone was laughing at me.
Yeah.
That is the best team in the NFC.
Yeah.
I've been saying that since the end of last season. They added Stephon Gilmore. They added Mozzie Smith. They added Brandon Cooks. And I'm just looking at this team, and I'm like, Dallas is stacked.
Yeah.
It's not that tough of a schedule, and that defense is ridiculously good.
They are insane. And I think if there's anyone that's going to contend with them in the NFC, it'll be the Niners or Eagles. Yeah. And they both, I mean, Niners looked great, but it was the Steelers. I mean, come on. I'm kidding. But the Eagles are great too, but I can definitely see the Cowboys winning it now.
And like I've told you, I mean, probably 50 times since we've got here, teams don't win the NFC East back-to-back years. It just doesn't happen.
I think the Eagles do it.
It hasn't happened since the 90s.
Yeah.
But Dallas's defense, I had a high standard of them. I thought that they were going to take care of business against the Giants. I didn't see what was coming. Mm-hmm. I think that that's a really good team. Last takeaway, I'm not freaking out over the Lions win against Kansas City. I think that it was a great game. I think it was huge, but to call them Super Bowl contenders or anything like that in the NFC East after a game that the Chiefs lost just as much as the Lions won.
Yeah.
Kadarius Toney, as much as I love what happened and would never change it for the world, those drop passes, I mean, there was blown coverages that just, even, Dan Campbell said it himself that it wasn't a perfect game.
Yeah.
So, I'm big on the Lions. I think they'll be pretty good this year, but just because they beat the Chiefs doesn't really mean that I think that they're better than the Chiefs, I think that, I wouldn't call it a fluke win. I'm not huge on Goff, so that's really my takeaway is, like, Detroit is good, but I'm going to wait on it a little bit. I'm going to be a little bit of, like, a pessimist.
Right. I still don't know if I would say that they're better than the Chiefs, but the fact that they beat them in the first place, it's awesome.
I think that this is one of the best Lions teams.
But does it mean they're going to win every game just because they beat the defending Super Bowl champs?
No, it does not.
Yeah.
Which, like you said, you have them losing to Seattle. So apparently you say it's going to start now and that they're not going to beat Seattle, which I actually disagree with. But they're a good team, even maybe a great team, but I'm just going to pump the brakes a little bit, see a little bit more of them playing against a wide receiver that knows how to catch the ball before, going crazy.
Yeah. Man, I wish I had that problem. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening to the first episode of our podcast. I'm really excited to keep making episodes like this. Let us know what we can do better, stuff like that. We got verse of the week, Colossians 1:15 through 17. The Son is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible. Whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities, all things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. Thank you guys so much for joining us this week, and we'll see you next week.
We'll see you.